Hello, everyone. Michael Opal here with my week 6 assignment. My informative speech is on World War II. I know a lot about it, and I really wanted to go in and make that my speech project this week. World War II, coming just 2 decades after the last global conflict, World War I, came the Second World War, which was the most widespread and deadliest in history, involving more than 30 countries and resulting in more than 50 million military and civilian deaths. Some estimates are as high as 85 million. So this was definitely the biggest conflict the world's ever seen. It was basically sparked by Adolf Hitler in the country of Germany, controlling the Nazis, and that sparked World War II, like I said, with the invasion of Poland in 1939. The war would drag on for 6 deadly years until the final Allied defeat of both Nazi Germany and Japan, which occurred in 1945. My next source I would like to point out is Wikipedia. I use Wikipedia a lot. I do feel that they are very credible. Again, known as the Second World War, a global war, and the big key players here, with the start in Europe, was the Nazis in Germany, and like I said earlier, the invasion in Poland in 1939. But they also went into France as well. And that type of battle back then was known as Blitzkrieg, which the French and Germans fought during World War I in what was called trench warfare, which included hundreds of trenches dug out in the land and consisted of fighting from trench to trench with rifles and pistols and sometimes even daggers. Another mass weapon used back then was mustard gas, and had a deadly effect. Sometimes people would lay there and basically going through torture as this stuff tears their body apart. So World War II happened, and the French were not quite ready for Blitzkrieg, which included armored tanks rolling over and with the overhead cover fire of warplanes and fast warplanes too. Basically what happened is when they executed their movement across the border into France, the French army again was in trench mode warfare and got pummeled. They didn't last a chance. So the Nazis came in and established full force in the country. And that sparked obviously France, who was being invaded, and Great Britain to get involved. The U.S. at that time didn't get involved. They did play a minor role, as they would send supplies, battlefield supplies, and warplanes to help, but they never actually deemed that they were in war with the Nazis. So the Axis advance and the Axis power is known as, basically on our end, the enemy, which consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan as the major players. Their Axis advance was stopped in 1942 when Japan lost a critical battle at Midway, which is near Hawaii, and Germany was defeated in North Africa and then decisively at Stalingrad, which is in Russia. So basically the big key points here is obviously that Germany was starting their advances in Europe, while the Japanese had already started a conflict in 1937 with the Republic of China and had advanced their forces, naval forces if you will, across the Pacific and bombed Pearl Harbor, which is located in Hawaii, and that decimated that entire fleet over there. And basically that is what sparked the United States to get involved. Here shortly I'll go over a list of all the countries that were involved, but those were the major players, to include Italy in Europe. However, the Germans were in main control with a little bit of assistance of Italy. The Germans had better armor, better trained troops, and better technology than Italy. So they basically were in command and control of Europe with the Axis power. The war ended up with an invasion of Germany by the Western Allies and the Soviet Union, culminating in the capture of Berlin by Soviet and Polish troops, and the subsequent German unconditional surrender on 8 May 1945. So 1945 is basically the year when everything came down for the Axis and the Allies had won the war. Germany had fallen first, followed by the Japanese over in Japan later on that year. So moving along here, another website I visited that had some credible facts was WorldWar2info.com. I found some great key points, a lot of bullets, which makes it sometimes a little easier to read and identify key facts. I'll tell you some interesting facts about World War II. The first German service member killed in combat was killed by the Japanese, which was actually in China in 1937. People don't know a whole lot of this. The first American serviceman killed was killed by the Russians, who were their allies, again, in Finland, 1940. So, fratricide, if you will, force-on-force killing on the same side. So, here's another interesting fact from World War II info. 80% of Soviet males born in 1923 didn't survive World War II. That is amazing that 80% of those individuals born in that year did not survive World War II. World War II was a deadly war. The highest ranking American killed was a lieutenant general. If any of you don't know what a lieutenant general is, that is a 3-star general. Between 1939 and 1945, the Allies dropped 3.4 million tons of bombs, which is an average of 27,700 bombs a month. So 12,000 heavy bombers were shot down in World War II. Another big fact. WorldWar2info.com had a lot of great bullets. My last credible source is CNN.com. I'm going to go over some of the causes of World War II. The Peace of Paris. Treaties worked out in Paris at the end of World War I satisfied few. Germany and Austria and other countries on the losing side of the war were especially unhappy with the Paris Agreement, which required them to give up arms and make reparations, which are paying for battle done during war. Germany agreed to sign the Treaty of Versailles only after the victorious countries threatened to invade if Germany did not sign. Economic issues were big. World War I was devastating the country's economies. Although the European economy had stabilized by the 1920s, the Great Depression in the United States led to the economic downfall in Europe. The Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and Italy, formed a coalition called the Axis powers. Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and 2 German-created states, Croatia and Slovakia, eventually joined as well. The Allied powers, United States, Great Britain, China, Soviet Union made up the Allies. The fighting the group Axis. Between 1939 and 1944, at least 50 nations would eventually fight together. 30 more nations would join by 1945, which includes Austria, Belgium, Brazil, British Commonwealth of Nations, Canada, India, New Zealand, South Africa, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, France, Greece, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Philippines, and Yugoslavia. So a lot of countries came to the side of the Allies because what the Allies were doing were defending themselves, if you will, whereas the Axis was trying to go for world domination. So just to recap, it was the deadliest war in history. Between 50 and 85 million killed during the conflict, and that was a global war, also known as the Second World War. Thank you. Have a great night.